This is Dr. Realsteen, and I have a PhD in computer science, gender theory, and most importantly, a PhD in street. As we know, most of our surroundings and our perceptions are constantly changing and evolving, or devolving depending on your point of view. This phenomenon is no more apparent than when we look at gender, and specifically when we examine gender roles and gender placement in society. New norms and perceptions spring to the societal forefront as often as a Kardashian changes its face, and old norms and perceptions quickly go the way of the dinosaur. A not-so-recent trend is for powerful influences to push men and women towards an increasingly different societal role and position. Long gone are the days of veneration of aggressive masculine energy, assertiveness, unfiltered emotion, competitiveness, and traditional gender roles. These notions are being replaced with subservience, apathy, inclusivity, and the ostracizing of developing young boys who display dominance characteristics. In short, with the oversight of societal structures, men are becoming emasculated. In recent decades, this trend was typically confined to more malleable subsets of the population, such as white males and to a lesser extent East Asian males. Typically, the power sources and the focus of their energy was honed in on white males, while African American males were left alone. Take, for instance, the case of the conflicting reactions to two extremely popular rappers in the late 90s, early 2000s, DMX and Eminem. Both rappers produced popular songs with lyrics that were very hostile toward homosexuals. However, it was only Eminem who was the recipient of the full fury of the gay lobby for his lyrics and was widely denounced and protested as a result. While DMX and countless other African American rappers were left completely alone by these pressure groups despite the obvious anti-homosexual lyrics in their songs. Another instance of this was in the case of Napster. For those who do not know, Napster was the first platform which allowed individuals to swap and share files online for free, which skirted the need for music fans to purchase music from record stores, a primary source of revenue in the music industry at that time. Now, as Napster garnered initial prominence, two artists sued the company for its practice: Metallica and Dr. Dre. As the years passed and Napster and online file sharing won the culture war, it was only Metallica who was forced to pay penance for opposing the infant file sharing website. In fact, the opposition of Napster has become so intertwined with the group that this opposition has become a focal point of their legacy. This castigation, however, eluded Dr. Dre, so much so that most people who are cognizant of this Napster and file sharing controversy would probably be unaware that Dr. Dre was side by side with Metallica in the battle against Napster. Yet he was allowed to move on, and this opposition is not a stain on his legacy as it is with Metallica. In fact, if you check their respective Wikipedia pages, Napster is mentioned one time on Dr. Dre's biography, while it is mentioned 16 times on Metallica's. After many years of chipping away at the masculine foundation of the white male subgroup, there is not much left to take away anymore, and as a result, white men have basically taken on the form society wants of them. However, like a spreading cancer, these structures are not satiated with undercutting the masculinity solely of white and East Asian males. They are looking for a new host to infect, and their new target is African American men. As a street doctor, I was aware that this attack on the black male population was looming and would eventually befall upon them. However, the transient time frame at which this group has been targeted for emasculation caught me completely off guard, despite my vast street intellect. In all honesty, I expected black men to be targeted at some point, but assumed that it would occur sometime when I reached senectitude or shortly after I was 6 feet under. I saw hints of this occurring in recent years, but I believed that these instances were anomalous and not part of a developing societal pattern. But this assault crystallized to me with the castigation of Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton. Now, I am not here to discuss the specifics of the situation because it is of little importance, as the details of the incident will be chewed up and spit out by the 24-hour news cycle and quickly forgotten. What is important is the coverage and ensuing outrage and pearl clutching after this story broke. The backlash that Cam Newton received for this was as harsh and as widely covered as if it were to have happened to a prominent Caucasian quarterback like Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck. If this were to have happened in the late 2000s, early 2010s, this incident would have received nationwide attention but minimal coverage, and the subsequent moral outrage and castigation directed towards Cam Newton at that time would have been minimal. But in 2017, it was a headline-grabbing story from coast to coast and was a hot-button issue in the 24-hour sports media for a week. Now, this is a truly incredible turn of events considering how quickly stories and moral outrage in the sports media gets covered and then forgotten about. This moment represents a turning point in how masculinity will be allowed to propagate going forward in the black community. There is a new standard amongst this subgroup, and soon they will be held to the same societal and masculine standards as white and Asian men. For this minor incident that lasted no more than 10 seconds, Mr. Newton was publicly condemned, had money taken from him, and in the end was forced to grovel and make an embarrassing video begging for forgiveness from the people who had wronged him and were responsible for taking money from his pockets. This is a sad tale, but is only the beginning, and should serve as forewarning to all young black men from here on in. You are being held to a different standard, and your aggressive masculinity will be tolerated less and less as time progresses. When the castration of the black male is complete, this will not signify the end of the crusade of male emasculation. Prior or after the goal of emasculating black men is complete, they will turn their sights on the Latino male. The Latin culture is very chauvinistic, male-dominated, and most Latin men garner a specific pride in the amount of machismo they can exude to the world around them. Machismo is so strong in Latin America that many believe that this is precisely the reason why Enrique Peña Nieto was elected president in Mexico and not Josefina Vázquez Mota, who finished in third place despite running as the successor for the ultra-popular Felipe Calderón. And it will not stop with Latino men. It will keep spreading and knocking down each subgroup under the male gender like dominoes until all the subgroups of men are completely emasculated, apathetic, and pliable to the will of the ruling class. Because remember, if you give these dickheads an inch, they're going to take 10 miles. Damn.